I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit, that is KDot, and this is the preview episode against the Seattle Seahawks. And before we begin the episode, if you end up enjoying it, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and KDot.
Share that shit.
Correct. Share that shit. You always get that part right. Really appreciate that. And also comment. If you end up enjoying the video, we always read that at the end of the comment mailbag. And the way we structure these videos, we're going to begin with the preview of the team itself. So the Seattle Seahawks, the 2023 version of them. And then we're going to get into the breakdowns of both sides of the ball. The Commanders offense against the Seahawks defense, the Seahawks offense against the Commanders defense. We have our predictions, as we always do. And then that comment mailbag, as we just mentioned, and after the pod. And so without further ado, let's get into it. The 2023 Seattle Seahawks are 5-3 on the season, KDot. And they'd been having a pretty good year. They were 5-2. And then last week, holy smokes, they got absolutely blasted by the other team in the DMV. Some saying the best team in the league right now, the 7-2 Baltimore Ravens. They lost 37-3, which is quite the scoreline when you consider that the Seahawks are pretty well known for, having offensive weapons. Geno Smith looks like a new, rejuvenated player in his career, and to only put up 3 points against a pretty injured Baltimore Ravens defense that is thoroughly exceeded expectations. 3 points nonetheless is very, very poor. But what do you make of this Seattle Seahawks team, Kata?
I feel as though there's a level of no one's really talking about them. And they're better than they deserve more than that. Right. So I think that there was this Cinderella season sort of thing that happened last year with Geno Smith, where he resurrects his career. It looks like a fucking MVP candidate, just is phenomenal. And then this year, though, they have had a fairly good record. If you look at the team that like you said, 5-3, the teams that they have played fairly decent. I mean, I can't say that they've had like a cakewalk schedule necessarily, and they've beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. So starting the season, Rams, they lose against the Rams. The Rams started off the season hotter than anybody expected them to be. They've kind of reverted back to the mean just a bit, but they've also had a lot of injuries and stuff to deal with. They win against Detroit in overtime. They beat the Carolina Panthers. They beat the New York Giants. They lose in a slugfest against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, who was starting to get healthier, and everybody knows with Joe Burrow there, who knows what's going to happen with them. They beat Arizona. They beat a stellar Cleveland defense, even though it looks ugly in the process of doing it. And they get smoked by Baltimore. But the thing with the smoking by Baltimore is that overall, if we're looking at the league, how many teams that we say are good, they got smoked at least once at some point this season.
Right? That's a good point.
There's a lot of that that's been happening. This season in particular has been very, very weird in that way. But the Seahawks overall, they're in a this division starting off the season started hotter than anybody expected them to. The Arizona Cardinals looked feisty, like it was looking pretty like, oh shit.
Yeah.
NFC West. Everything's kind of calmed down a bit. I think everybody still thinks San Francisco is the best team in the division, but I don't find it hard pressed to not say that they're the second best, and they're looking like a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, this is a week-to-week league, and your reactions are based off of the last week. That's exactly how I entered it, and then KDot, of course, did the medium, hey, this is what they've done overall. They are 5-3. They are a good team. And KDot, I'll also say this, added context to this game. I don't know if you've seen their next few games on their schedule. They are going to circle this one and say they absolutely have to have it. Yeah. So after us, they have the Rams on the road. Okay, fine. They've already lost to them, but the Rams... Yeah. They should be able to take care of that. Then it's San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco, Philly. And so they are going to look at that and go, yeah, we have an opportunity against the San Francisco 49ers to, split, or maybe even depending on how we feel about ourselves, us being the Seattle Seahawks in this case, take both. But that is a daunting schedule, and they will need every win they can get before that 4-game stretch. So they are definitely, to me, looking at our team, where they are favored by 6.5 points at home, going, we got to have this game. So it is an important game for them as it is for us. So why don't we go ahead and jump over to the Commanders offense led by Sam Howell, second in the NFL in passing yards, against the Seahawks defense. So once again, last week, one of the conclusions we sort of came up with is, Sam Howell is not only an NFL quarterback, he seems to be of starting caliber, right? I mean, second in the NFL in passing yards. You can't just be anybody and do that. Like, you clearly have some talent. Eric Bieniemy's play calling has certainly helped with it, but Sam's made the most of the opportunity. KDot, this side of the ball, what are you looking for? How do you see the Commanders having success?
Sam Howell. But when I say Sam Howell, it's helping out Sam Howell. What are we doing to help Sam out? Now, I get all the statistics, everything that look great. He does have a lot of attempts to a lot of other guys in the league, which is one thing.
We throw more than anybody from a percentage perspective.
Easily. Yeah. But it gets kind of crazy, right? But if you look at last week, we've been critical as far as their running game. They ran 29 times last week. This is something that need to continue as far as Seattle. Seattle's coming off a game against Baltimore where Lamar Jackson didn't completely light him up. He threw they had just over 200 yards passing, but they had 298 yards on the ground. This is something where you look at the Seattle defense and you say, okay, they're 25th ranked in the entire league. They don't look like they're anything really sneeze at. But once again, you look at that schedule, look at who they have played, some pretty good offenses. And they're not talentless, especially that secondary. Devon Witherspoon, the rookie, one of the hardest hitting motherfuckers in the league. Love that dude. Love seeing him play. All pro Jamal Adams, Pro Bowlers, Diggs, Woolen. They got guys. They just haven't necessarily put it all together throughout the course of the season, but you can look at us as Washington and say, that sounds vaguely familiar, right? So like there's an angle of if you have Sam Howell drop back throwing the ball 60 times this game without the balance when it comes to the run, you're on the road in Seattle. It's going to be noisy as hell. I know that they've said they've been working with kind of training Sam on what it is he needs to do with it. Look, different beast when you're in that goddamn stadium. And this team knows, these fans know the same way that you do, the same way I do, what that schedule looks like and how important this game is, especially coming off of a Baltimore loss where they gave up 37 points. They're not going to overlook this team. There's no idea of them sleeping on this game. It's not something that's going to happen. And they got guys that rise to the occasion more often than not. Like they kind of feed off that energy. So it's just, what are you doing to help out Sam? You have to keep a balanced attack when it comes to the run. You have to threaten the run. You have to get some of these guys to kind of drop down to open up the lanes. One thing about Sam Howell that I give him more credit for than maybe any other thing, especially when it comes to young quarterbacks, he spreads the ball around.
Yes, he does.
Tremendously, right? Like how many times you look, 8 guys have caught a ball this game. Or
Byron Pringle had a big game last week as an example. Right.
Jamison Crowder's come out of nowhere to be a guy. Like there are dudes on this team that get fed. And if you have that running game the way that you need to, if Sam takes what the defense is giving him, we can have some success. We can absolutely have some success. It's a matter of, can Sam stay grounded in who he is? And can Eric Bieniemy do everything he humanly can to protect him and to make sure that he's getting the best out of him? And I tell you, if there's reason to believe in this, because we've seen them kind of adjust the passing game over the last few weeks, the shorter passes, the getting him in rhythm. As long as we maintain what it is we did with the rushing attack against New England, we could have some success.
Certainly. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Jordan Brooks, starting linebacker, second in tackles for the Seahawks, currently not practicing with a hamstring injury, so he may miss the game. And he has 3.5 sacks on the season. We talk about Sam Howell and the sacks and stuff like that, protecting Sam Howell, making sure he's getting rid of the ball, stuff like that. But there's also Boy Mafe, who has 6 sacks on the season for the Seattle Seahawks, second-round pick last season. We're going to have to look out for him and make sure that he is not eating. He's had a sack, I think, in just about every single game he's played so far. The only one he didn't was the Rams game. So he's getting there. And so you do need to make sure that's accounted for. KDot, we do need to run the ball more. And I think we did see a good little distribution of that last week against a Patriot secondary led by, Bill Belichick coaching them. It could be tricky. Sam did a great job. I think Bieniemy did a really nice job. Maybe didn't need to throw on 3rd and 5, take that deep shot instead of maybe just throwing to Dotson, getting the first down and calling it a day. But overall, we have seen improvement there. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, they're absolutely making progress, which is something that we've been looking for as far as evaluating this team overall, is what steps are you taking progressively? We're going to get to the other side of the ball where there's a little more skepticism. But the idea on offense is that they are working and running in the right direction. I don't know if anybody, I don't know if you've heard, but Robert Saleh, the head coach for the New York Jets, he gave a press conference the other day talking about sacks, and how sacks to him was the most overrated stat in all of defense. It gets guys paid. He wants to get his guys paid, but he was looking at Quentin Williams and he was got to defend this guy. The thing with Washington on the sacks is that the sacks have been so negative in the sense of the yardage loss, there's turnovers, also the knocking Sam out of his rhythm. There are so many things we can do to eliminate the sacks tremendously compared to what it is we were doing previously. But what I think, and I think that the thing is for me is that if you look at it, the amount of times that Sam gets pressured into making a dumb mistake or pressured into something, it's fairly low. Like, as far as his numbers against pressure, I think they've always been pretty solid. It's just he's taken unnecessary sacks that puts you in terrible situations, puts you in a 3rd and long, where then you have to throw the ball deep or anything. The sack numbers it's just eliminating the sack numbers. If we can eliminate the sack numbers, and I think that's through Sam getting better and Eric Bieniemy calling a better game plan. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the adjustments on the offensive line look like they worked. Yeah,
no, that's certainly true. And would also think it's important to note that because Sam's getting it out quicker, there are still some questions, whether you believe PFF or not, but like there are some questions about, is the offensive line truly playing better, or is it just that Sam's getting it out? I think you and I are both on the same page. It's a bit of both.
Everything.
Right? It's everything, right? And everything's connected in that respect. Also wanted to mention that this Seattle secondary, one of the things about Seattle is that because they're on the West Coast, they don't get as much national attention as they should. You had mentioned it earlier. They're not really being talked about. That's generally just true, unless they have like a superstar QB when Russell Wilson was there and was that version of himself. And they had won a Super Bowl, right? Like that's where they started being talked about more. And even then you could go maybe not. So I just wanted to highlight that this secondary they have is good. It was 37-3 against Baltimore, but that was 0 passing touchdowns. That was all on the ground. Yep. Right. So it's important to note that Woolen, Devon Witherspoon, Jamal, like this is, and Julian Love, this is a decent secondary. So it's going to be important for the other guys, Byron Pringle again, Jamison Crowder again, Logan Thomas, to be involved, because it may not be a Terry Jahande. It may, it also may not. So like you need to continue spreading that ball around. Why don't we go ahead, flip the script, flip the side of the ball. Let's talk about this Commanders defense. Looking a little rejuvenated, went against a bad Patriots offense last week, gave up the 17 points against the Seahawks offense. Now on the Seahawks side of things, I'm going to begin by saying DK Metcalf is a question mark for this game. So he has been dealing with a hip injury and initially did practice on Wednesday, suddenly did not practice. And whenever you see that status switch like that, it wasn't even from practice to limited. It was practice to, well, not even going to try it. So we got to monitor his status. Their first round pick, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, is beginning to get going after the bye. He's starting to get more targets. So that's somebody to look out for. And Tyler Lockett's been solid the whole time. So they have weapons on offense, not to mention Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. KDot, what do you make of this side of the ball and what we need to do?
Yeah, I think you started with the things that matter the most, which are those wide receivers, especially against a secondary who, outside of the New England game, and we said it, and it's the reason I was so medium after the game. New England's bad, especially offensively. They're just bad.
Right.
The wide receiving talent there in Seattle is incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. Like, I love Tyler Lockett. I'm a huge Tyler Lockett defender. I think he's just the most solid dude that they have on that offense. DK Metcalf had a huge play against in that Baltimore game, even if it didn't really mean anything. Here's what I'll say. I still have yet to see anything that makes me truly believe in the Washington defense. I know they had a good game against New England. I know that we're right around the time, maybe a little late for when it is that the Jack Del Rio Washington defense kind of takes their stride. So I'm wondering whether or not they can build off of what happened in New England. What I will also say is that Jack Del Rio needs to make sure he's setting his guys up for the most success they can possibly have. If I see Emmanuel Forbes lined up against DK Metcalf, if he fucking plays, I might break whatever TV.
It is 0% on Emmanuel Forbes at that point.
None. Like, we already see.
You need to know that.
Right. Like,
how can you just look at that and be like, oh, Emmanuel, you got to do better. Like, this is a premier wide receiver, one of the biggest in the league.
The biggest motherfucker on the planet. Like, it's scary. He wears a pacifier, but it's not. It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it
DK
is.
If you want to see something, like, go on YouTube and check out DK Metcalf running after, I think it was PFT for Barstool. He's running. He's chasing him down the hall. It is some of the scariest shit you'll ever see. You do not want that.
I haven't seen that. I honestly, okay, I'll have to check that out.
Look, and here's the thing. There's so many reminders of it. If you're Jack Del Rio, you can just look at Emmanuel Forbes, look at DK Metcalf, look at Emmanuel Forbes, look at DK Metcalf. Probably shouldn't do that.
This is all classified under coaching, by the way.
Right. There's also a matter. DK Metcalf has a teammate, former college teammate that loves playing against Emmanuel Forbes. All right, AJ Brown. Do not fucking do it. Just don't do it. The dude is finally getting confidence. The last thing you want to do is put his ass out there in Seattle against DK. If you want to see me lose my shit, there you go. Just watch it. If you see it happen, just know KDot is somewhere losing his absolute shit.
On the bright side for all you guys, should we see that matchup, there is that to look forward to on Monday morning, where you will see KDot go, how? You know, it really is.
Just once again, I'm still pretty medium, but just complete fucking lunacy.
Fair. But you know, to your point, KDot, like the fact that we can seriously consider that a possibility speaks to the coaching, right? That we are talking about Emmanuel Forbes going against DK. And by the way, shout out Emmanuel Forbes, who had a fantastic game last week.
Love you, buddy.
He was awesome, but he is a rookie, and it's important to remember that he is going to be one of the youngest on the unit. And all of a sudden, he is going against number ones for whatever reason immediately. Sometimes it takes time. You can see the talent there. I don't think it's a great idea to do it. Let's see if it happens, though, because it is a serious possibility when it comes to this coaching staff.
Well, here's the thing. If Forbes against, look, we just praised the shit out of Lockett. Forbes on Lockett, I got no problem with. He might get the
matchup makes more sense. Lockett immediately falls down after catching it anyway.
So my thought is, it's just a matchup coaching issue. That's all I'm saying. It's not that I don't like Emmanuel Forbes. I don't think he's capable. Not this matchup, not this young, son. Like, this is not here. This is not the game to do it. All right, but outside of those guys, the dude who's delivering the football to them is Geno Smith. He started off the season. I mean, nobody thought that he was at the same level that he was at last year, but I think that was more the surprise aspect. Fine. But he's been pretty good. The 3 games that he struggled with, probably the 3 games that he struggled with the most is like 3 out of the last 4 games they had. Baltimore, Cleveland, Arizona, Cincinnati. Once again, Baltimore, who we know what their fucking defense is doing. Cleveland, we know what their fucking defense is doing. And they won that game. Had a pretty good game. That's the 1 out of 4 that he had a pretty damn good game. And then you have the Cincinnati Bengals, still a damn good defense.
Good context there. Yeah.
So there's looking at that. The big thing for Geno Smith, I think that once again, looking at the talent of the defenses he's played, he has turned the ball over 6 times in the last 4 games.
I think that's about right.
That's an issue. But once again, the talent on those defenses have been incredible. If you look at Geno's entire picture and scope of this season, he's been damn good. It's just, once again, it's that Pacific Northwest. No one's talking about it. No one's paying attention unless you're on national TV. And I don't think I've seen Seattle on national TV, at least not a game that I watched.
Fair enough.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, defensively, I don't know. I can name all the things that Seattle can do well. I don't know what Washington team shows up. I don't know what it is that we're going to do exactly, other than make sure you contain Kenneth Walker so they don't have 2 dimensions. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, sorry, I'm just looking at the injury report. We should have mentioned this. Jaron Reed has a tooth injury. I've never seen tooth on an injury report before. It must be said he did practice in full though. But I do want that's a nose tackle for them, just to be clear. So that's the other side of the ball. But something I wanted to mention is that last week, something that got attention, KDot, is when Ramondre Stevenson ended up housing one from 60 plus, right? Where this huge hole opened up. And people were like, why? And then you see Del Rio yelling at Jamin Davis, and Jonathan Vilma, who's the color commentator for that game, mentions Jamin Davis was slow to react to that. Kenneth Walker's a talented running back. Zach Charbonnet, they just spent a high pick on. So we need to make sure that those assignments are taken care of first and foremost. And then, yeah, it's going to be tough against Geno Smith, but like KDot said, he has turned it over recently. Let's hope for a couple of those. I am also particularly interested to see how the defensive line does for the second week, this time without Chase Young, without Montez Sweat. What does it look like? How does it continue to progress? How does Daron Payne do? How does Jonathan Allen do? Curious to see what that looks like, that pass rush and ability to stop the run.
Yeah, no, 100%. And shout out to Montez Sweat, who got player of the game last night.
He was terrific.
Yes.
Yeah. And happy to see it. You know, like it's
happy to see it, frustrated that it doesn't happen.
It does affect the draft pick.
And well, I'm not even worried about that. It's just a matter of already I can see a defensive line utilizing a guy better than they utilized him.
Well, it's also new energy. Keep that in mind too.
Once again, I am not going to let this get fucked him. I don't like our defense. Look, I love Ryan Carey. I love some of the position coaches. I don't like Jack Del Rio. You know what I was doing? I went back and I started looking at episodes to see when the first time it is I lost my shit on Jack Del Rio. Mm-hmm. I can't keep track. I'm going way back in the fucking archives.
You're still going. Now. You've been going for a while. I will give you that.
So like everybody new to this whole Jack Del Rio and discipline defense, I've been here saying he's been relying on the athletic talent. And I'm sorry, but without Chase Young and Montez Sweat, they are less talented athletically. What can you do now that you don't have the excuses of these freelancers? We'll still see. New England is fucking bad.
They're really bad.
When you were talking about the breakout run for Ramondre last week.
Yeah.
So Kenneth Walker has not had super success over the last few weeks, but he did have, once again, when I was naming those last 4 games, Arizona, the weakest link by far. He ran for over 100 yards. Even that Cleveland game where Cleveland's been damn good defensively, he broke one for 45. He's
a home run hitter. He's fast.
To absolutely watch out for. He can do it from any place on the field. And if you look at before that Cincinnati game, he was doing a damn good job. Outside of the Detroit game, averaging over 5 yards a carry. Like he can play. Like I just don't know what Washington defense sets up. I do know that if it's any Washington defense I've seen over the course of this year, even the New England defense, even the defense we had against New England, they're not going to have the same success against this goddamn team.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So now let's just jump over to the predictions then, KDot. So we have the Seahawks favored by 6.5. They are once again at home. This is a 4:25 Eastern kickoff, not the usual 1 o'clock that we're all used to. And that's going to be over at Lumen Field. So 6.5 point favorites are the Seattle Seahawks, the over under 44.5 points. And as always, I need a score. I need a winner. I need a player of the game. Go ahead. KDot, floor is yours.
I'm never going to take that biggest spread when you got Sam Howell throwing the football, just from a standpoint.
I like that.
He just throws the ball a lot. But I digress. 27-24 Seattle win. Even that to me feels like it's higher scoring than it probably will be. I think this feels like one of those sloppy fucking games, right? Like, I don't know. I just get that vibe from me. But overall, I'm saying that I don't believe in the Washington defense until they absolutely show it to me. And I do think that Sam Howell, 24 points in Seattle on the road in that place with the experience that he has so far is something you can hang your hat on for the future with Sam Howell. But I'd expect him to potentially start off a bit slow there until he gets kind of adjusted.
Sam Howell did also endear himself this past week when they were talking about loud environments to many, many Commanders fans who also happen to be Virginia Tech fans, where he had mentioned that the loudest stadium he's ever been in was at Virginia Tech. So Sam Howell, once again, whoever's coaching him in terms of how he handles the media, you got a head coach that needs some help. Okay. When it comes to that. So please help him out. This is a game, KDot, where from a narrative feel perspective, I've got one thing going. And from a logic perspective, I've got a completely different thing going. I could easily see it. We've talked about this with friends. We've talked about it on this podcast. I could easily see us winning just because it is that sort of mid-season Ron Rivera push that we are all accustomed to. It makes no sense, but it happens. And then there's the logical side of things, which is that, well, we just discussed Seahawks offense we know is talented and generally good. And our defense is an entirely unknown entity. We don't trust the coaching. We have no idea what's going to happen with that defense. Could be great, could be terrible. And then Seattle's not talked about. I do think their secondary is good. I do think this is going to be a tough game for Sam Howell. We went against the New England Patriots team where you could get chance after chance after chance because their offense is putting no pressure on us to do so.
Okay.
I think the Seahawks do put pressure. I think they do have success against our defense. And I think that translates to a tougher side for our offense. This is where everything's connected once again. Loud environment. I have the Commanders scoring 14 points, and I have the Seahawks scoring 27 as well. So I have Seahawks 27, Commanders 14. I have the Seahawks covering, but once again, would not be surprised at all, KDot.
Right.
Just given the rhythm of things each season Ron Rivera has been here, where we just win. And you can't really explain it. It just sort of happens. We get a couple bounces our way. But I'm going to go with the logical side of the brain here. 27-14. Seattle player of the game will be Geno Smith. I do expect Sam Howell to turn the ball over a couple times. So maybe a back down to earth type of game there. Why don't we jump over to the comment mailbag? Any final thoughts before we do so?
Jaxon Smith-Njigba.
Njigba.
Njigba. I should be better about that. I'm the black guy here. I have him as player of the game. He's been kind of catching fire, and I think that the secondary, they'll overlook the third option of DK plays.
I do have him in fantasy, and I'm now wondering whether to play him or not, but it's difficult because right now I've got CeeDee Lamb against the Giants, which, by the way, maybe a sneaky bench play just because are the Giants even going to be close to the point where CeeDee does anything? And then I've got, who else do I have? Now I'm blanking completely. Michael Pittman. Got to keep playing Michael Pittman. He's been great for the Colts. And then there's Chris Godwin against Tennessee. It's a good matchup. He had a down week last week. I don't know if it's the type of thing where you suddenly just play Jaxon Smith-Njigba, but if there's ever a week he's absolutely going off and announcing himself to the NFL world, it would be this week.
So one of those things I do when I'm fantasy drafting, especially receivers and running backs, is I try to limit guys that are going to play us. I hate having to feel that way when I'm playing fantasy football because I want to be able to make the logical right choice.
Yeah.
I would say from a logical pragmatic standpoint, if you have a receiver playing the Washington Commanders, it should not be a question.
Fuck, dude. Yeah, he's gonna go off, isn't he? All right, so we're gonna go over to the comment mailbag.
Even if he doesn't, it's the right choice.
It's the right choice. You're right. It's the right choice. We have the Commanders Patriots preview episode. We had one comment there. We didn't get to it we didn't do a comment mailbag last episode. Apologies. It's from Blood Clot. So again, this is before we played the Patriots. So that's the context there. He writes, OG, I'm looking forward to Sunday. I love chasing Sweat and enjoy watching them play, but their impending contracts were kind of a nagging thought. Now it's clear that we're just extending Cam Curl. It's kind of like a weight off the shoulders. Now I'm just watching to see the results of their decision. Montez Sweat did sign a long-term deal, by the way. I honestly don't know, and I want answers. I've given up on the season, so I'm watching stress-free from this point on. If we win, great. If not, I'd like to see owners making moves. As far as Belichick, I listened to the Junkies, and they brought up a scenario where we get Belichick, then he gets Josh McDaniels back as OC. He's a better OC than head coach. They did make the playoffs the last time they were together. Or we can look at Ben Johnson, OC from Detroit. And sometimes I delete my comments when I think about what I wrote and find it stupid. So that explains the Blood Clot has commented, and then I look and it's just not there. Blood Clot, I would encourage you to keep those because you listen to us. We say stupid stuff all the time. So feel free to just join in, really. We will feel even closer to you. KDot, share your Korean jersey hookup. Share that link.
I gotta start.
Share that link. Share that shit. I love that part. I think that's a bit of a subtle. I think you have to, KDot. You have no choice.
So I'll start with that. I bought a jersey from that website 3.5 weeks ago. I have not gotten tracking information, nothing. So I'm not sharing it yet.
But you did get the jersey.
No, I've got nothing.
I know. I got no tracking information, but it did arrive very quickly.
I lost. I right now I'm $45 down, and I don't know what's happening. So,
but you're full of hope, right? Or do you think? We move on to Tony, and this is the new episode. Washington Commanders victorious.
Oh, hey, no, Blood Clot. But you're right as far as the Montez Sweat Chase Young thing. At least it eliminates another unknown. We have a better idea what is going to happen going forward. I don't think it's a guarantee as far as Cam Curl. Just going to say that because I don't know exactly what it is they're doing.
I think it is.
Okay.
You got Rivera talking about the leadership that he shows and that he's a veteran and people look up to him. I think it's quite clear that they want to hold on to Cam Curl because he also had trade value. right?
I hope so.
So
I don't know. I hope so. And the Bill Belichick thing, the only reason it tracks is that Washington did this before when they brought in Vince Lombardi. And we killed him.
we're not doing that.
Greatest
This
coach
new
of
ownership,
all time.
new ownership group's not doing that.
Just saying, you bring in Bill Belichick, he dies in his office. It kind of tracks as far as history.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, historically, there is precedent for what you were suggesting. Ben Johnson, OC from Detroit, I could easily see us being interested. We talked about it last season, KDot, on one of the After the Pod episodes where we were talking about, we had that whole coaching thing where I was like, I think Rivera's done. Let's go after a young OC because they'll stay your head coach for a long time. We'll
I would
also
love that this year.
Yeah.
Now we get in this Eric B. Do I want Ben Johnson more than Eric Bieniemy?
Well, on the subject of Eric Bieniemy, and I remember last time I was super jet lagged explaining this. So this time I think I'll be a touch more clear. I think the way he's calling the offense, yes, it has been successful also, which is great. But I think he's thinking about it from a stats perspective, where he goes, I came from Patrick Mahomes and people doubting whether I had any influence on Patrick Mahomes in that offense, right? Now I've taken a 5th round pick. It's technically what Sam Howell is. And I've got him as, at the moment, 2nd in the NFL in passing yards. We've got people saying he's an NFL starting QB. I played a big hand in that. So I think it tracks very well for him to be head coach here next season. Or if it's not here, he can point to this and go, I can get any QB to play well. And I can get yours to play well.
If that is a deciding factor, if those thoughts go across his head when he's putting up with the game plan, I want him fired.
I'm just telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just playing a numbers game here. I'm serious because it's still shocking to me how much we throw. Like it really is. I appreciate it when it works, obviously, but there are plenty of times, KDot, where we've preached balance over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to let one win against the New England Patriots suddenly go, it's working. It was still 20 points at the end of the day.
I think it's nothing more simple than when we have run it early in some of these games, it's looked very ineffective because, like I've been saying, the defense knows what's coming when we're running out of shotgun. If you're lined up on the right-hand side and the ball gets snapped and you're handing it off, it's going to the left, vice versa. Like, that's what happens. They got to pull to do the thing, unless it's a draw. You know what's coming. And unless Sam Howell's going to tuck it and run, you know, and you
okay. Well then for a former running back to not be able to scheme up a proper run. Anyway, so we're
throw out a shotgun too much.
As of right now, I like Eric Bieniemy, just to be clear. Okay. But anyway, we're gonna go over to the other comments. Good comment, Blood Clot. You got us going there. We go over to Tony. Shout out, Tony. I'm with you, KDot. We've been here before. We know how this movie ends. Can we just lose games so we can have a higher draft position? And this is after we beat the New England Patriots. Appreciate the comment there. Tony, KDot, what do you make of that? Should we go ahead and just lose games and get a higher draft position?
No, I've never been for tanking unless you absolutely know what the commodity is.
But we do agree that the movie, we know how it ends.
I have a good feeling I know where it ends. I just based on prior, you learn from your history, right? That being said, I do think that there are some things that are just slightly different. We've never had an offensive quarterback that's producing the amount of yards or points that we have in this Ron Rivera era, right? And the defense still hasn't turned on. But the defense still hasn't turned on. So, like, there's an aspect of, I don't know. Some of the variables are just different. I don't know. I'm just, unless you're the Wizards now tanking in the wrong season, should have been last year. For a surefire thing, we're not gonna be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. We're just not. So I think it's more important to get experience. I think it's more important for Sam. To me, if Sam Howell plays in a playoff game this year, that's huge for development of the team.
The number one thing that comes into a rebuild, to me, is not tanking. It is establishing a solid culture.
Right.
Because that is something to build towards. When we've had Yacht Bitch over here, we have not been able to establish anything remotely resembling a good culture. That is why that was so exciting. I want to see this team continue to win. I want to see this team continue to grow together. Right. You could feel the level of camaraderie last week. Again, bad New England Patriots team, but a win does a whole lot for that locker room, for fans, for 100%. Everything, for ownership. So let's see how we go ahead. As long as we are on the same page. But if we lose, higher draft position, it's a win-win, really, because that's what's going to end up happening. You're either going to get the higher draft position, which, hey, fans will be like, okay, cool, we're rebuilding, we know that. soft rebuild, or we're winning and we end up making the playoffs, for example, or we get really close and Sam Howell played really well in the last game and we just missed or something like that. And that's also a good building block.
There is only one negative potentially to us winning games, to me, in my opinion. And that's tricking ownership to keeping the current regime.
Yeah, I completely agree. I still don't think that's in the cards.
Outside of a Super Bowl berth, they should be gone.
Or NFC Championship game.
Super Bowl berth, I'm keeping there.
Really? Because that would be the first championship game we've made in 30 plus years.
Don't care.
Okay, cool. And then we move on to
the amount of luck that would be involved to get
that is true. That is true. That is true. And to be clear, I'm not even saying I would want them, but just from the neutral perspective of like a team went to the NFC Championship game and fired their coach after they haven't been there in Lord knows how long. I just don't see.
I'm full of shit. If we make an NFC Championship, I'm going to name my firstborn Ron.
We go over to Vindo. Thanks for the comment there, Tony. Shout out Vindo. LOL, can't get mad with a win first time at New England since 1996. And that is a good point. Okay. First win since 90. That's kind of crazy.
I wasn't mad. We weren't mad. We just were black. It's like, it's just, don't get it twisted. We weren't mad about the win. We were just, like,
it was sort of an type situation. Oh, definitely not mad. I was glad we won. That was awesome. Quan Martin got the pick.
Right.
Second round pick.
Cool.
What? His snap to interception ratio is off the fucking charts. Like, this dude is unbelievable. Anyway, we go over to Dennis. Shout out Dennis. Dennis 2782. Sometimes it gives me like the name, and other times it gives me the like at YouTube handle. That's
them got to go in their profile and change something.
No, because other times if I look at it from a different view inside of YouTube Studio, so it says yeah, so it's not them even. I think it's just depending on where. Anyway, this is Dennis 2782. Hey guys, I caught an episode about your bad language. Ha ha ha. Hook up with Rio Robinson for a joint cast. Blow everyone away. You guys are great. Don't change. I really appreciate that, Dennis. KDot, your thoughts on the comment?
I appreciate the support. I will say that the last part of the don't change thing, I fundamentally disagree with just as a human being. Mm-hmm. I think if I'm the same person I am today that I was 5 years ago, shoot me. You need to make progress. That being said, what I won't do is change for the whims of an asshole that barely watches our show.
There you go. I think Dennis is making that point.
And Dennis, I appreciate you. Yeah. And I don't know Rio. If you know Rio, Dennis, shut up. But we're not opposed to being on anybody else's show.
I could reach out to Rio. Be like, hey, look at this comment. Yeah, we got Dennis's endorsement. I appreciate that. Really do. Really do.
Break some records on some cusses.
We easily could. And then we go over to Blood Clot. So we start with Blood Clot. We end with Blood Clot. Oh, I appreciate it. Tell us your thoughts on Chase Young's trade comments. Definitely makes saying goodbye much easier, LOL. But now we had talked about, KDot, if I may begin this one. Appreciate the comment there, Blood Clot. We had talked about establishing a good culture. And Chase Young in his intro press conference talked about how the culture is different in San Francisco, how they are all about winning games. Feels like it's Ohio State again. And he even cited Nick Bosa being there, a former teammate of his at Ohio State, and how you could just feel the energy and difference over there. That's probably true, right? It probably is a different culture, and it makes a lot of sense. There's also a point to be made that when you are the number 2 overall pick and you are coming home and you have a golden opportunity to show out and you are Defensive Rookie of the Year, that it is partially your responsibility. This is a young guy, okay? And let's be clear, this is a young guy, right? Like, he's 22 at the time, then 23. So recognize that. But there is an expectation at the professional level that you would be a part of changing that culture. And it didn't really happen, unfortunately. And so it does make saying goodbye a bit easier, where you start talking amazingly about that and going, about the whole Washington thing. It does make it a bit easier, KDot, just being honest.
Nothing Chase Young said moved the bar at all for me, other than to kind of be frustrated with the entire thing. But my frustration with the entire thing is so much more on the coaching staff than ever.
Of course.
The idea, look, if
but
there's
the coaching staff didn't say skip OTAs. Like, there's also,
I'm not even saying, I'm not even going that far. Like, but the idea though, Chase Young's production on the field to me has been subpar.
Yes.
Other than this year where he was leading almost every fucking PFF statistical category as far as when he was on the field, as far as pass rush or anything else, until that fucking Philadelphia game where it just looked like he gave up. But the Philadelphia game where he looks like he gave up, I also think was because he's hearing his name every 30 fucking seconds and he's about to get traded. Now, outside, and I don't know what that does to anybody. You should be a professional, but I also don't think he's been nurtured enough to get things done. The other thing I look at when it comes to this Washington defense is there are no veterans, true veterans. These guys are all kind of young together. Who it is that you have to kind of mold you into who it is you're going to be and learn from example doesn't exist. These are freelance dudes, especially on the defensive line, and they just got young guys. If you got a veteran, they're a veteran of no note.
I do think that's a very good point.
A veteran that spent time in Carolina, what the fuck did you do? Why should I listen to you? So there's like an element of that. There's also Chase's energy level. Never quite matched what was happening in Washington. Same thing with Montez. That's the one thing that bothers me. Me and you have talked ad nauseum about how much we loved seeing Chase on the sideline, being the biggest cheerleader for everybody, right? But the vibe in Washington always felt as though he was up here as far as the level goes, and everybody else is kind of like, all right, chill, man, do your job. But the moment that he gets to San Francisco, they're all characters. Nick Bosa's a loudmouth son of a bitch. I saw George Kittle cracking jokes nonstop with Chase Young at the locker room. Their vibe and their mentality.
And you would trust that coaching staff as well, right? So there's also that.
But I just think but I think Chase is answering a question as far as what happens as far as the goal. He's not going out of his way to do anything. And I think Chase just feels it. Oh my God, I think these guys are more on my wavelength.
I suppose. But then, again, I also look at the way that those comments went down with Gibson, with Payne, with Allen. Like, it's a business. We move on. Thank you.
I go back to there. He's here. Not saying more than. I'm just saying everyone knows that motherfucker at work, right? That's always so goddamn happy for no fucking reason. Like, I haven't even got my morning coffee. Would you shut the fuck up, Bob?
And they are getting after it.
Right.
Yeah,
it's just,
understood.
Bob's not doing anything wrong. Bob's being a positive person. But Bob, I'm not there right now. Can you shut the fuck up, Bob?
Understood.
I just feel like there's more of that. It's a personality clash. I just don't think those guys gel well.
Okay, cool. Well, it did for me make it easier just to be like, okay, got it. It is what it is.
If Chase Flames out in San Francisco, that'll make it easier for me.
Okay, that's fair. Just the on-field production.
That's all it is.
Don't just to be clear, don't dislike Chase, but like the comments, yeah. All right. Cool.
I didn't take offense to any of it.
Anyway,
and make it easy.
We're gonna go ahead and jump into after the pod as we hit a hard stop here. This is District Divided, DC Sports Podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to this preview episode against the Seattle Seahawks. Again, the game is at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, not 1 p.m. Eastern. So just an eye out for that. If you're 1 p.m., you turn it on, you're like, where the fuck is the game? Just watch Red Zone for a little bit and then go ahead and enjoy the game at 4:25. Again, if you enjoyed the episode, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment, and KDot.
Share that shit.
Share that shit. We really appreciate you guys. After the pod begins right now. This game against Seattle, the more I think about it, the more the random win could easily come. That's really could.
Yes. But
this is such a strong, this is such a strong feeling of, you just know, and this happens a lot, where the rhythm of the team at certain points in the season severely out classes, even logically, the logical side of the individual matchup itself.
I think logically you can make a very, very compelling logical case that we could win this game. And the logic involves randomness. The logic involves that there is a certain element that is it's unknown with Washington. Why the fuck would this team, playing at the level at which they've been playing, take a Philadelphia Eagles team to the limit 2 times? Doesn't make fucking sense. Just doesn't make any sense. This team playing at the level at which they're playing, good or bad, should not get smoked by the Chicago Bears at the level at which they got smoked. Shouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. Like, this team just doesn't make sense. And when you have a team, especially one that relying on a basically rookie quarterback, I'm calling basically
it's his first season starting, yeah.
And a new system compared to last season. Yeah. So, yeah.
Another thing that's never talked about, actually, to Howell's credit. Yeah.
So basically a rookie quarterback relying solely on his ability to outscore another team leaves you with a wild amount of fucking variation on what is going to happen.
Sure.
Like, if he throws the pick in New England before the half. Terrible pick.
Oh,
terrible pick.
It's horrible. Yeah.
Right? If he does that twice in a game, that can completely change the outcome of something, right?
Mhm.
If he doesn't do it at all, also change the outcome of something. So, like, you're dealing with these wild cards. It's the same way that, like, the best example of this to me, not at a rookie level, but at a veteran level, is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills right now, to me, are the most hilarious fucking team in the NFL because they are losing games because of Josh Allen. If you literally look at every statistical category that they have, okay.
Well, all I was going to ask you was sort of an intriguing question, or you could just be like, I'm a dumb fucking question. Would you rather be the Buffalo Bills or the Washington Commanders?
You mean like if I took their team and put it here?
Like, which team would you buy stock in moving forward for the next 3 years?
Oh, Washington.
I'm on the same page because I think we know what Josh Allen is. With Sam,
right,
we don't
no
know. Yeah, exactly.
No
exactly. Yeah.
Josh, this just might be who you are.
It
so,
is.
Like,
he's
right.
shown it over and over again. I'm tired of just generally, and this is across the board, not just sports, people showing you who they are and you going, no, but they could be different. They are showing
Josh Allen plays hero ball unnecessarily. Look, Benjamin Solak for the Ringer did a fucking masterclass. A masterclass. He echoed everything I've been saying about Buffalo. Because the other podcast I do, ASOS,
right?
I have a Bills fan. And I ream him a new asshole every fucking time that Josh Allen does something stupid. And the reason being is that it's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. Like, literally, he does the dumbest possible thing at the most inopportune times. But he has, as far from a toolbox standpoint, there is no one with a better toolbox in the NFL outside of Patrick Mahomes, quarterback-wise. Period.
Yeah.
Maybe Lamar. Sorry, Lamar. But
no, I would still give it to Mahomes, but it's close between.
Well, no,
those
I say
two.
Mahomes is number one, S tier. He's someone else. But I'm saying as far as like who's behind him, it's between Josh and Lamar. As far as their
I put Lamar in front.
I probably put Lamar in front, but what Lamar can't do, Josh Allen can just run you the fuck over, and I think that counts for a lot in short yardage situations to make.
Dude, my thing is who was Lamar, or I'm sorry, who was Josh before Stephon Diggs? Right, like no one talked about Josh Allen that much. He had the occasional throw, and you're like, okay, there's potential there, and Stephon Diggs shows up, and all of a sudden it's realized. And in the case of Lamar, he's had Mark Andrews. Very important, of course, but he never had, like, at least Mahomes early on had Tyreek Hill.
Don't get me wrong. I think that Lamar is a better quarterback than Josh. That's not what I'm ranking.
Okay.
I'm saying as far as tools in the shed. What are your physical tools in the shed? Like that's all I'm saying. Okay. I don't think anyone beats Patrick. Yeah, I would never put Josh Allen over fucking Lamar Jackson. It's just not fucking gonna happen. Cool. Lamar plays the game so much smarter than Josh could ever dream of playing in the fucking game.
Which makes all the teams coming out publicly and saying we're not gonna even talk to Lamar even funnier.
The consummate fucking professional.
Dumb. Like look at Atlanta right now. How dumb does that look?
I can't get over how fucking stupid. And I live in Baltimore and just see it of it. Lamar's the guy. I'd love to have him on my team any given point in time.
Electric.
He's so great. But Josh, so compare like Josh Allen to Sam Howell thing, right? Is like if you look across every single category for Buffalo, everybody was giving him a lot of shit since Brian Dable left, right? Mm-hmm. But the Brian Dable piece is their offense is actually in a lot of ways more efficient than it ever was under Brian Dable. Their running game's better. They can move the ball. Their only statistical category that completely has cratered, Josh Allen is fucking turnovers and dumb turnovers at that, right? It's fucking terrible. But you look at Buffalo and you're like, dude, that team's got a lot of fucking talent.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are they around 500? You got inconsistency at the quarterback fucking position. And now if you look at that when it comes to Washington, I don't think Washington today is probably more talented than Buffalo. But I can say that Sam Howell is learning from his mistakes and might not want to do it again.
Yeah.
And that to me is the thing. And right now today, when we're looking at this Seattle game, Sam Howell's still a guy that we're not sure if he's learned completely. He's still learning. He's in that process. There's just so much statistical variation when you're relying on those things. if the defense was playing better, fuck yeah, that'd be a good pick, right?
Mhm.
If you could rely on that New England game saying that, I think that is a benchmark of who we are on defense. Okay, maybe you can. Then I could see this other things kind of playing into, and like, all right, you can feel good about this pick. Right now, it's just completely random. If Sam Howell just goes off in this game, throws for 400 fucking yards, just fucking goes like he.
Oh
just
my
takes over the
gosh!
defense,
I mean, beyond sold on the guy if he does that.
you can still lose. So like that's
Yeah, no, of course, of course. I mean, so the nice thing I think that's come from this season so far, KDot, is that we feel good about quarterback. Like that's pretty exciting. Like, you know, the last time I don't remember your take on Kirk Cousins when that whole thing was going on. I didn't enjoy it
Kirk.
just because I liked Kirk. Didn't love him because I felt in certain moments he would fall apart. It's too early to tell with Sam, but we did have the touchdown throw to Jahan Dotson where I still hold the belief we should have gone for 2. And that's not just like the retrospective glasses, even in the moment, wanted to go for 2. But Sam made that throw on the road, hostile environment, perfect delivery to him.
Mhm.
So I see a guy that can be even greater than what Kirk was over here. And Kirk was good here. Very, very good here statistically, right? So curious to see how Sam continues to progress.
So far, Sam's only had one down outright, holy shit, what the fuck is happening? Funny enough, it was against Buffalo.
Yeah.
But it's like I think that might have been it. Sam looked across and like, Josh Allen, my hero. I want to play like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't.
No, he did play like him.
He did. Maybe he didn't
That's
learn
part of the Josh
like,
Allen experience. You're gonna get one of
just
those.
Transfer it over. Like it's just that was the only game where it was like, oh, he's just compounding his mistakes. Like he's lost it. I think the biggest thing with this game that I'm really taking to it, if I'd be really curious if I'm Seattle, if I win the coin toss, I might start out on offense. I think
that's a great idea. I think
this if you can get this crowd going early in this game and rattle Sam, I think you could I think this would be something.
Which is why if I'm Washington, I want the ball first. So like you want to be able to at least put some points on the board because we talk about the connection between defense and offense and how the score influences play calling and stuff like that. If you can go up 3-7-0 on that first drive, it can change everything because it just takes one bad offensive possession for Seattle. Maybe you're up 2 scores and all of a sudden everything becomes open to you.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so you actually did prove your point that you can logically say that we would win that game.
Right. But that's the thing is like you can, but that's what I'm saying. If you build in the variance, if you build in the anomaly, the craziness into it, you can, yeah. What
are we 6-1 all time in Seattle during the regular season? It's something crazy. It's an insane stat.
Yeah.
Because you associate Seattle with the noise and stuff like that. I know playoff experience with Seattle has been different. God, we've had some of the worst playoff experiences with them.
Well, they're so few and far between, and every time we've gone, it's them.
It's like... yeah, well, that's also true. I just think about the RG3 injury, man.
Yeah, we got some really bad fucking.
Anthony Mix recovered the onside kick, wasn't allowed to advance it. That was like the first year you weren't allowed to advance an onside kick. He scored.
That's Seattle, my favorite city, right? Favorite, absolutely.
We talked about that. Really? Well, it would be New Orleans, but you're too afraid to go because you're going to love it too much.
There's one reason that I'll never like as much as I would love New Orleans. There's one reason it can never be number one. Never be number one. The humidity. Okay. I'm fat,
so
I don't like sweating.
I think skinny people don't like sweating either, KDot.
Yeah, but I particularly don't like sweating because it also makes me look like the fat, sweaty, sloppy person.
Oh, okay. There's that narrative for you where you're just
other
like,
part
oh,
of it, right?
it's
so like as a fat guy. Look, I'm in a committed, wonderful relationship, but as a dude that's had to like, you got to kind of work on your personality or other things, and they got to be on 10 in order to.
That's why you're such a good podcaster.
I try, but there's like one thing you can't be. If you're gonna be the fat dude dating like the hot chick, which I've done, I'm proud of myself now. Right? You gotta be on point in everything. You can't be the fat, sloppy, sweaty guy. Then it's like, oh, I guess his bank account's big. That's about it. Like you don't want to be that dude. You don't want to be the like that now. But you
got it.
You got it. So I'm like, I'm the clean fat guy.
Okay, and so the humidity
smell good
is enough to just put you over the edge and go. This is it.
You can't maintain. Like I love Savannah, Georgia. Adore Savannah. I go to Savannah, Georgia. I mean, up until recently when I was just busy, I used to go to Savannah once a month.
Okay.
Love it down there. It's humid. It gets kind of bad. I love it. I'd love New Orleans. It could just never be number one.
Okay. So it's Seattle.
Seattle's number one. Boston's number two.
Because at least you can hide your sweat in the rain because it's raining all the time.
I like hoodies. I adore wearing a hoodie. And the idea of being able to be outside. Because
look, it's a Commander's hoodie. Yeah, go ahead.
That's nice. Do you know per year Washington, D.C. gets more rain than Seattle?
I did not know that.
It's true. It's not even close a lot of times. And the reason being it never really downpours in Seattle.
It's just a steady little mist.
Steady mist. So it's one of those things where you could take that hoodie, go out, walk from your car to your office building. And by the time you're inside for like 30 seconds, you're dry.
Well, okay. So I've already got the name of the episode. If we were to lose like 23-20, steady mist. Commanders fall. It's slip in Seattle.
Just me laying back with just.
Yep. Okay. That's going to be the cue. We will see you guys after the game.
Bye, everybody.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.